you have problems with sound, maybe try to check your settings, the computer. Engaging activities, a lot of answers here. So feedback, yeah, that's great. And here we are talking about things that motivate you to be a teacher, but try to rewrite these questions for your students to answer. How could we write them? Of course, what do you like about studying English? And you will definitely see what motivates them. Who is your favorite teacher? And you will find a person who you can study from. What do you think you do well as a student, right? What things do you still have to work on as a student as well? So if you rewrite, you will actually have the surveys for your students and if you get answers, you will be able to understand them more. And moving forward, the main goals of today's webinar is to examine teenage development, to talk about why teaching teenagers is so difficult, what are general strategies for motivating teens, how to work with difficult students, and we will look at modifying activities to make them more engaging for our students. So, I want you to read this. Do you agree with this quote from a very famous educator? I will not tell you at once who this is. People say they don't hear me, but as I understood, people can hear me. So, our youth now love luxury, they have bad manners, and I think you've read it, right? Okay, some problems here. Well, check your settings. That's all I can say. So, moving backwards to our quotation. Well, who do you think said this? Who do you think? Who is the author? Okay, from which century? What do you think? The last one, modern, 18th, 19th, 20th, okay, 21st. Well, I will have to disappoint you because the author is Socrates. Yes, yes, he is the author of these works. So you see that, well, time changes, but they actually don't. So moving forward, the normal adolescent development, according to the American Academy of Child Psychiatry, is first movement towards independence, ability to think ideas through, conflict with parents, increased ability for dealing, rectifications and compromise, increased concern for others, peer relationships, important, and take an appropriate place among other interests. And there are other things that are changing among our teenagers, so they have greater capacity for setting goals, increased emphasis on personal dignity and self-esteem, social and cultural traditions regain some of their previous importance. And what implications does that have on the way we teach English? Well, English in some form is important. Our teenagers are normal, and in a general way they need knowledge, skills and ability to use the language. We can say that English is maybe only one subject at school which actually which includes any other subject, any culture, everything that students can be interested in. And English is the studies about life more than about just language, because language is the whole worldview, and that's the way they discover the world, especially in this age. So why is it so difficult sometimes? Let's see. That is motivation, and they don't want to learn the words not only because they don't want to. Maybe there are some problems in the family or in the classroom or in some interests. Let's see closer what is motivation. We first need to know what exactly is motivation. Well, it can be internal and external. What internal motivation do your students have? What can you think about? Have successful, well, that's a very distant motivation. Personal attitude, yes, one of the most important things. External is parents and friends. We are talking about internal ones. One high-paid job in future, yes, but we are talking about the teenagers, and I used to teach the teenagers for 2 years. They've been teenagers, and they are not thinking about their jobs. It's just far from them. Remember yourself, when you were a teenager, you never thought about job. Well, maybe you did, but still, they need to have some closer aims. We will talk about them. And moving forward, internal motivation includes intrinsic interest of activity, as we said, the interest of the subject, the desire to study English, perceived value of activity. Each activity should teach something, not only the language. It should teach, it can be, for example, a contest. It should teach them some new information, not just dry sentences, but something interesting to find. Mastery, well, they need to be sure that they can do this activity. It should be challenging, but they shouldn't be scared by the activity. Self-concept, internal motivation about self-concept. They need to find themselves in this language. For example, somebody loves music, so you can do songs. Somebody loves video, or somebody loves films. You can get some video. Somebody likes painting, and there is a great activity when you can paint in pairs. Describe something to your partner. They paint it, and then vice versa, and compare like what you were describing and what has been painted. Attitude, the one you were talking about, and other affective states, developmental age and stage, and gender. Of course, this is the very important part of the psychology, gender, which is not always appropriate to put girls and boys of the same age in one group, but still we do it, and they have different level of perception. And external, of course, this is the significant other, which is you as the teacher. Parental pressure, of course, parents make the children study. Learning environment, which should be positive to get better results. Broader context, the one where I was talking about not only the language but also the culture, the other subjects. We know they are called CLIL, right, sections where we find information from the other subjects, but in English. Punishment, which is important at some point, and if you have no choice, well, punishment works, but not always. And reward, punishment and reward, you can use them sometimes, but if you use them a lot, they just lose their value. But the truth is actually that your students are more motivated than what you may think. They just may not be motivated the way you want them to be, and the trick is tapping into their motivation, not yours. Because you sometimes can remember yourself, oh, we didn't have such things and that things, and we didn't have such books, but nowadays kids are different, and what motivated you may not motivate them. And let's move on. What were main 20th century skills? What can you say? The main 20th century skills, you might type them. Lifelong learning. Oh, okay, can you see 20s, not 21st. Okay, I'm just following the chat. I cannot speak and follow it at the same time. So I will show you the first big skill of the 20th century is speak English. The second is drive a car, and the third is drive a computer. This is about 20th century skills. Now we moved on, we have the 21st century skills, and you are thinking the correct concept, but for the current century. communication, the one which was mentioned by a lot of people, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So these are the main skills, the rule of 4 C's in the 21st century. That's what we have to teach our students. And do you know this person? Do you know who this is? Have you ever heard about Bloom's taxonomy? Yes, so this is Benjamin Bloom, yes, Benjamin Bloom, the person, the educator who was chairing the Committee of Education when this taxonomy was created. And here we were talking about critical thinking and how it is being developed. So the first and the biggest stage is name, describe, relate, find, list, write, tell, remember the words. After that, when you have some basis, you can compare, discuss, state, predict, translate, and outline. When you have this basis, you can apply what you've learned here. You can analyze, this is higher level of thinking, evaluate, and finally you can create. So this is Bloom's taxonomy, and you might Google it, of course, to find out more. But this taxonomy is put into of the new ministry program for foreign language, and this is actually the way all the materials, all the modern materials are designed. This taxonomy is also directed onto motivating a lot. And you can see the quotation, learning is most extensive and powerful when emotion is part of learning, especially on the top, on this highest level of learning, where we have analysis and evaluation and creating moment. Still, emotion is very important. That is why I want to show you an abstract from our new course, Think, Cambridge University Press course, which is very engaging in emotional and psychological way, because it is even called this way, Think. You can see it here. And a lot of sections train to think. And all the text, there are a lot of reading online and in the textbook, a lot of reading which involves emotional points, and all the texts are close to the students, and you can see that the heroes are teenagers. And all the text involves prediction. You look at the photo and try to predict first, like pre-reading task. Teaching teenagers successfully is not just about language. You need to work with the whole learner. This is the quotation of the one of the authors of our new course, Think, Herbert Puchta, and students now think and talk about life in other countries, and here is an abstract from culture, and you see that students become more interested in the same people of the same age in different countries, and also it is important to get them to literature. because they, of course, have Ukrainian literature, foreign literature lessons, but English literature is very important. For example, when I was studying, we had the whole course of English and American literature. You can also have just 1 hour per week or per 2 weeks, or make it faculty, but still, reading literature, reading fiction is important for children in English language, because that's where they study values, they study the whole worldview, not only language, and they see actually how the language they've learned is used. Also, you can find literature. You can find it for free at our platform. I will give you the link if you need after the webinar. There are a lot of literature abstracts which are downloadable free from our platform if you register as a teacher. And let's move on. Experts say that good things happen to students who read a great deal in the new language. They become better and more confident readers, they write better, their listening and speaking abilities improve, and their vocabularies get richer. In addition, they develop positive attitudes towards studying the new language. That's what we said. If they read, they understand the language much better. So reading with our new course thing would be much more fun than just reading. So if you have ability, have a look at our new course thing. All learning involves states of pleasure, disappointment, eagerness, as well as feeling static, effort, and boredom. Well, you can even judge according to yourself, because not only fun, but also when you teach, you can feel bored. You can feel that you put too much effort and have nothing. That is why the result is very important. The result not as a mark, but the result as the use of language. And it is not to have your teams bored, you need to challenge them. And here I have a joke for you. Read it. What are the most difficult skills for your students? The teacher says, the productive ones, of course. Gary asks, why? Because cooking is more difficult than eating. This is such a methodological joke, but you know that cooking might be much more fun than eating, much more creative. So productive skills are the final goal of what we are teaching. With Cambridge teaching, with Cambridge materials, you have communicative English. There are a lot of activities for pair work and interaction. For thinking skills, you've seen some sections with things. Also, for multiple intelligence activities, exam preparation and activities, independent learning skills, getting teenagers active and interested, confidence in speaking is what Cambridge English gives, especially in exam preparation activities. And what are the challenges for of teaching teenagers? Motivation and interest, as we said, shyness of teachers, it also can be discipline, mixed ability in multi-level classes. That is, of course, challenging, and I saw you written this in the chat, that they have no interest, that they have different levels, and how to deal with that. Well, let's start from the very, very beginning, warm-up. How do you usually start the lesson. It is written here, this slide, that you need to read, to show the care, to look at them and understand how they feel. You have to control, and of course you have to grade your language, which is important. But still, warm-up is the most important part of each lesson. As for me, I always start my lessons with a warm-up. And look at this. What is that? A brick, right, you are. And what can you do with a brick? I want you to write at least one idea. What can you do with this brick? Oh, yeah, of course, build a house. Build, but still something else. Something not, yes, you can break something. You can draw with a brick. This is creativeness. You can hit somebody. Anything you'd like to, I love this answer. Using sport activities, that's a great, kill somebody. Oh my God, who are the teachers, but still teenagers could say that. Present it to somebody, that's a great idea. I think I should present somebody a brick. So, you started writing your ideas at once, and the first one was build something. But for teenagers, they are much more creative than us grown-ups. And they would rather say paint something, well, break something, of course, the teenagers. Use a sport, that's a great idea. And that's how you can train their creative and critical thinking as well. And also, what language, what target language can we recycle during this activity? The question was, like, what can you do with a brick? I can draw with a brick. Yes, modal plus infinitive. You may hit somebody. You can kill somebody. Yes, this is one. So this activity, very simple. It doesn't require anything, specific, just a picture or a real brick. If you can bring it to your classroom, that's okay. You can recycle modal verbs, especially if you've learned them on the previous lesson. You might start your next lesson with such a warm-up. Moving on, there are some other ideas for a warm-up. Thinking cards. Have you ever tried thinking cards? Yes, that's great. Yes, pictures, thinking cards. You've tried it. So I can suggest you some of these. Your students come into your classroom and you can present them this card. You walk into your classroom and everything is pink. What happens? And they decide what happens. Somebody came in, somebody pink came in, a dog came in and poured a pink body and poured some paint, or they can come up with loads of ideas, but you have to give them a time limit. Yes, something burst up. You have to give them a time limit for this activity. For example, come up with as many ideas in 3 minutes as possible. And what can we recycle here? Which topic? Which grammar topic? Tenses, that's right. To specify past simple, past or even past perfect depends on the passive voice, that's right. That's right. And one more idea, there are loads of children now, well, teenagers now, who are big fans of Doctor Who, and you can ask them to do this part, this picture. You're walking down the street, you look into a police box, and what's inside? We can recycle here. Furniture, for example, the construction, there are, yes, you're typing it at the same time. So these are some ideas how to start the lesson, how to start it with a warm-up, to make a good bridge from the previous lesson to the further one. Moving on, rewards and punishment. Well, it works short-term, but not long-term. And it develops a dependency culture which works against the development of positive self-images and autonomy. You can use it sometimes, but be very careful with rewards and punishments, especially with punishments well, rewards should not always be a mark, a good mark, or an average mark. It can also be, you can create some tickets or some classroom stickers, and that can be candies always work, but still this is a tricky way to motivate your students. Yes, you have to give marks, but marks shouldn't be the purpose of learning. And moving on, having a specific long-term goal. This is the thing that may motivate children a lot. Not only you as the teachers, because of course you put these goals, and remote goals lack motivational power. The one we were talking about good job, like think about why you need English, and yeah, everybody thinks, oh yeah, that's good for our career, but they are teenagers. It can be good for watching videos, playing some video games that are not translated into Russian or Ukrainian or any language they use. Listening to songs and understanding the songs. Oh, you're writing it at the same time. Thank you, Irina. Listening to the songs and looking for songs, and it is very interesting. I have a very interesting task for my students. I usually ask them to find songs with some grammar construction. For example, find songs with the first condition. And they are searching for loads of them, and one of my favorites is Bruno Mars song. It's called "You Can Count on Me," and that's my student who found it. Or, you know, this Roxette song, "It Must Have Been Love." This is a very difficult construction for them, but with the song, they might learn it very nice. So do not always find songs with grammar, with target grammar, but engage your students to do this. They will have a lot of fun doing it. And yes, you cannot assume that your students are intrinsically motivated, nor that they'll meet your expectations just because you're the teacher. You should start the beginning of the school year with clear rules and realistic expectations. And this is the point where you need to choose what kind of teacher you want to be. A strict teacher, a scary teacher, or a friendly teacher. And what do you think is the most, I don't know, the most possible to keep students in order, keep your class in order. Okay, with teenagers, freeway doesn't work. That's very true. Friendly teacher is a great idea. Yeah, you can see the third one is a friendly teacher. That all sounds great, but you need to find a balance between three of these teachers. You have to be strict sometimes. You have to be scary sometimes, maybe, and you have to be friendly. Well, scary is not scaring your students with something like, oh, you will have Zeno, or you will work in some basement if you don't study. But scary means they should be afraid to disappoint you. This works very well, and yes, and this also works with the discipline. They should be afraid to bring you down. And set clear rules. We are continuing talking about decision, what kind of teacher you want to be. And there is one methodologist and pedagogy dreadful expert who says that there are only two kinds of teachers able to maintain order, one who are firm but fair, and one who are scary. The friendliest teachers were the least respected. Let's move on. So to conclude, you need to balance being strict, being scary sometimes, and being friendly. Also, at the beginning of the year, you can use special anchoring, for example, sector board work. At your whiteboard or blackboard, you need to find some places where you always do something. For example, well, of course, the day and the date, but you can also use only one sector of the board for vocabulary, for mistakes, for errors, which you can wipe in the end of the lesson or in the end of the week. And sector the room. It's a great idea, for example, for study sector and communicative sector. They can move from individual work to group work in different places of the room, and that might be interesting and engaging for them. Also, there is a nice idea how to do the noise control. For example, you can write on the blackboard or whiteboard, and somebody is writing green board, yes, some phrase. Here I've written the best class ever, and at the beginning of the lesson you write this phrase, and every time you have to remind the class to be quiet, you rub one letter. The goal of this activity is to keep the phrase, at least one letter of this phrase, alive, and that engages students a lot. You remind them about being quiet by wiping one letter from this phrase each time, and if they have a good behavior, you can add letter back. Okay, thank you for the nice idea. A note on negative consequences. Extra homework should not be a negative consequence. I know it's hard to do, but still, you shouldn't use homework as a punishment. It can be a reward. It can, for example, the best student gets some super interesting task, and he's not allowed to show this task to everybody, and then he does the task. He can or she can bring it to the teacher in an envelope with even some stamp like confidential or something like that. And it's fun, but still it makes your homework, it makes students' homework more engaging and reward-like. Not sending on the email is also great, but it should also engage the rest of the class. So this envelope retro thing could work very in a very useful way for the whole class. What is also important, keep your promises. When you promise that this is reward, it should be. And talking about activities, you need to think who was the best teacher you had in secondary school and who was your favorite teacher you had in secondary school, and decide were they the same person or not, and why not. According to these memories, you can add something to your own personality as the teacher. And this way you need to create a pleasant and supportive classroom atmosphere. For example, remember that the key to having motivated students is your own motivation to try new things and help learners love the language themselves. If the teacher is not motivated, the students will not be motivated anyway. Surprise them occasionally with fun. This is something somebody wrote about it. So thank you. You're running ahead. Surprise your students, and they will always be waiting for more surprise, and you will give it to them when they don't expect. And of course, humor should never hurt, and hurt should never be tolerated in your classroom. You can use some jokes, but be sure that these jokes don't hurt your students, which are very sensitive at this age. And your classroom should be a safe place. Your classroom should be a safe place, and when students come to the classroom, they need to understand that they won't be hurt, that the teacher supports them, and you can see here more people tune out because they don't get along with their group than for any other reason. So students might be very motivated in studying English, but English is language is communication, and they don't communicate with their classmates. So you have to manage this problem as well. You can, for example, give this student who is an outsider, give the student a task which only he can cope with. But if, for example, I had a student at the sixth form who was very good at making sculptures, and we had the topic furniture, and I asked the student to create some piece of furniture, and he was the best at that, and everybody asked him for help, and he was like a furniture consultant, and from that time I had problems with him much more rarely. In the absence of any other motivational factor, learners will keep coming to class because they get on with their classmates. This is another thing. When they are not motivated in English, they can be motivated in communication. And you can also use it. Later we will talk about some games, how to use it. And The term, the second important factor is expectancy of success. If you think you will succeed, you will feel more motivated. For example, look at this. There are a lot of squares, and it's an example from Montessori principles. A lot of squares, and imagine this is the floor, and you have to wash all this floor, and you're a child, yeah, you're a teenager, and you can see one small square, but you have to wash the whole square. Yeah, and you think, oh my God, I'm not gonna do it, and I won't be able to do it in future. So give them just one small square first, then two squares, then 4, 5, and a lot of squares, and they will not even notice how they already washed the whole floor. So this is something that we can, yes, step by step, we can see in grammar. Give them more and more layers, and be sure that they can cope with this amount of information. Don't give all this amount at once. And talking about classroom materials, this is not so significant as people-related factors, but beautiful and engaging, bright and fresh books are always motivating, at least at the very beginning. They like something new, something fresh, and something that affords to their interests. Tests and examination. It might motivate if the tests are constructed in a proper way, and Cambridge English materials can provide you with these tests. For example, at that platform I was talking about, you can find a lot of test banks that provide you with the tests that can be helpful and can be interesting for the students. And of course, personality of the teacher is important. We've already talked about it. And here is another thing: get your students know you. For example, well, you have to keep some distance, but still, you can personalize some activities. And look at this. I have 3 sentences about me. One of them is true. Only one is true. All the rest are lies. So, can you write 1, 2, or 3, which is the truth and which is the lie? The third is the truth. Okay. Yes, the third one. I will not skip this in brief. The third is the truth. And here is the photo of my group from another job. This is the theater. Yes, I'm a theater director, and all this is not true, but a little bit. Here should be 7 years instead of 10 years, and here, no, I've never worked as an actor. I didn't used to work as an actor. And this is actually how you practice these constructions: used to, and get used to. In this personalized activity, you practice grammar material, you say something about yourself, you get your students later, yeah, you model this by yourself, and then you can make students write the same sentences about themselves and get the class guess what is true, what is not true. And in this activity, it looks like a game for them, but it looks like a game, but still it's useful for practicing some grammar. And you need to find out interests of your students. You need to know what they love, what they don't like, and we've talked about it. Plan your lessons according to something what is important for your students. Activities and steps that make them up should have clearly understood and achievable goals, and there should be an observable outcome. And if possible, students need a chance to personalize and internalize the activity. That's what we have already done. Activities with game-like elements are usually good for generating interest, and game-like elements are not games. You can transform activities into contests. You can make them work in groups and decide which group was the best. And it's not quite a game, but game element. Has degree of competition and goal, which is about something other than getting the language right. And also you can add some drama improvisations. That is very fun. I will explain you some games which you can use. For example, the fishing game, and I have here 3 words: collaboration, disaster, entrepreneur. You need to write down in this activity, you need to give them blank cards, and they have to write one very short sentence with each word, and each sentence should be 1 per card. You need to be sure that the sentences make sense, and you have to try to make your sentences funny if possible. If not, if your students, you know that your students are not that creative, don't do this. And you need to give them a time limit, like 1 minute. They create all these sentences, 1 per card. After that, you gather all these sentences in the box, shuffle them, get 2 volunteers, give them a situation which your topic requires. For example, you're in the shop and you are choosing some clothes. Or if we were talking about disaster, for example, I don't know, maybe something happened in your house and you need help, yes, and get them to start talking about this situation for real, and all the rest should say fish. Once they hear fish, you can model some conversation, and once these 2 volunteers hear fish, they have to take a card with the sentence and incorporate this sentence into conversation without breaking the conversation, with keeping this conversation going. Also, in this way, the conversation will be very fun, and they will always have the basis, like a sentence, to talk, to keep talking all the time. Another one is optimist and pessimist game. For example, you give them a topic, a complaint. Yeah, making a complaint about some product which you don't like, and the task is to get 2 volunteers, and the task is that one should always start the sentence with the word fortunately, another all the time unfortunately, and it will sound really fun. For example, fortunately, this shampoo is organic, and another says, unfortunately, I'm allergic. to such shampoo, but fortunately it's very cheap. Unfortunately, I can afford myself an expensive shampoo, and this conversation will go in a very fun way if they add, fortunately, unfortunately, to every beginning of every phrase. And make your students keep the story logical and moving forward. Gibberish interpreter, this is also a communicative exercise, communicative activity. You'll find speaking topics. For example, let it be a first job interview. You need 3 volunteers, and you need to get your students use the target language with vocabulary, grammar, constructions cards, or write them on the blackboard. And 3 volunteers. A and B speak gibberish. What is gibberish, you'd ask? Yes, this is unreal language, something they create on the spot. Some sounds, something funny with emotion, and they speak this unreal language, but there is the student C who has to translate at the same time. The interpreter who translate all this gibberish conversation using target language from the blackboard, for instance. And that can also work very fun for your students and motivating. Of course, you cannot use it all the time because it takes a lot of time and it doesn't involve the whole class, but still they would love this activity. It's your lesson, and I guess English is the only lesson when you can afford such activities. And be sure that you use the elements of games and drama, contests, and add emotions to your activities, but not the whole activity like game and drama. Give proper instructions to keep the main goal, target language, and use it from time to time when students don't expect. That will work the best way. And you can also see here the book by Cambridge University Press, Drama Techniques, which gives you a lot of social situations with cards, and you can use it for role play in your classroom. Check it at cambridge.org if you are interested in drama techniques. Another thing is fake biographies. You can, to get your students right, you can use even photos from the book. Look at this person and create a fake biography of this person. They will have fun, it will be creative, and it will include some topics which you need. And another quotation, teachers should decide for themselves how best to teach a lesson, and they should use the teacher's book as a guide and a source of good ideas, not as a set of instructions that must be followed precisely. You see that the course book and the teacher's book is just a starting point for your creativity, and we know that teachers are never satisfied with the teacher's book, and they never have enough. So, in summary, maintain order, stay safe, respond to needs, interests, and goals, have fun with the book. I can also show you some modifications of teaching vocabulary, like mind mapping. I'm sure you know this. And you can have such a paper and pass it through the classroom, and they have to add. Like, you can fry, what else you can do with the food? You can steam, you can pickle, and they add all this to the mind map. Also, vocabulary by the picture. It can be a picture of some activity like that you can grill was on the previous one. On this, it's you can mash something. Another one, I call it the taboo game. There's one student who comes to the front of the class with his back to the board. You write several words. You write several words on the board, like 5 words. Tell the rest of the class they have 1 minute to get the student to guess all 5 items. They can say what the general category is, but they cannot say, they can only give hints based on meanings. They cannot say letters or something else. And students guessing may not ask questions. He can only answer and say the words. For example, you write mango, banana, apple, lemon, pineapple, and you can say that this is the category. It's fruit, the color, the shape. Your students have to talk. And different types, you can see different categories. Also, my favorite game is Name 3. You take a soft ball, you name a category and toss the ball. For example, fruit, you toss the ball to somebody else. He hears, or she, fruit, and has to name 3 words in this category. For example, banana, mango, and orange. Then he tosses the ball to another person, and you start over. It can work in a circle, it can work in a classroom when they are sitting at their places with the ball or with some soft toy or anything to bring more fun, and it is very useful for studying vocabulary. Also provide proper instructions for this game. And here is some table how this game should look. Like music, toss the ball. Guitar, Mozart, song, toss the ball. Another category is students name the category and again start over and over. Also, you can use logical quizzes. This one is from the book Think. It's about the man who lives on the 12th floor of the building, and every morning he takes the lift down to the entrance and leaves the building, and in the evening he gets into the lift, and if there is someone else in the lift, he goes directly to the 12th floor. If the lift is empty, he goes to the 10th floor and walks up 2 flights of stairs to his apartment. And students need to come up with as many ideas as possible why he does so. I know that we are out of time already, so I will have to tell you why. Yes, he's short. You knew this quiz. Okay. And remember that the more motivated the teacher is, the more motivated the students are. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for everything. You can see here is the official distributor of Cambridge University Press Materials, Linguist Company. You can find us in Kyiv, Skovoroды, 6 Office 44. You can also write to me, Tatiana Shalepko, Linguist QA, if you have questions. Yes, talking about certificates, once you fill in the Google form, you get the certificates in 3-4 days starting from this one. And this is the end. I'm really happy that you consider these tips useful. I hope we will see you in our next webinars soon. Thank you very much.